Welcome to Bipolar She. I'm your host, Janine Noel. Before we get started, the content of this show does include suicide and suicidal ideation. If you are ever in need of immediate support, please dial 988, a suicide and crisis lifeline. I believe in the healing power of writing and speaking our mental health stories in all their raw details. Today, I sit down with Kris to discuss deliberate cold exposure, in particular, cold plunges. With mental illness in her family, Kris found meditation and yoga improved her own mental health, but was frustrated with the time commitment. With a gentle nudge from a friend, Kris filled up a horse trough in her backyard with ice and jumped in. Soon it became as vital to her as other practices. However, it was time efficient. Kris became so passionate about the benefits of cold exposure, she has now manufactured her own cold plunges called chill pods. They are designed for all bodies, but mostly made for women. Her chill pod launches this week, so check out the show notes for more info. Now, on with the show. This episode is brought to you by the Soar with Tapping app, created by expert EFT coach and friend of the show, Amy Vince. If you're navigating anxiety, trauma, or just trying to feel more grounded, tapping is a powerful science-backed tool that can help calm your nervous system and gently release the emotional weight you've been carrying. Amy's guided sessions in the app make it very simple to start healing right from your phone. Visit the Soar with Tapping app in Apple or Google Play stores and start your journey towards freedom. Hi, Kris. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you. So, like with every episode, I do start by asking a guest to share a little bit about their mental health journey. So, I would love to hear about you.
Yeah. I think there's been a mental health string really as I look back since I was very young. So my grandma was my biggest eye opener, I think, that way. She and I were very, very close, and she struggled with depression and being bipolar. And so I saw that from a very young age and didn't always know how to understand that, but I knew that I just had a lot of respect for her because the struggle was there, and it wasn't a time where people talked about it the way that they do now. And so I think I always just had that in the back of my mind. And then a large leap forward, I have two daughters, and my oldest daughter had a lot of mental health struggles when she was really young. And so I really wanted to approach that journey with her from a much more open conversation than it was in my family when I was growing up. And so along her side was really when I was able to see my own struggles too, just with anxiety and stress and not knowing really how to regulate my nervous system. So it was really that led me to all the wellness practices that I love and appreciate now, and really gave me a passion not only for creating conversation around, what mental health can look like and what support can look like, but also being curious around alternative forms of being able to support our journey.
Knowing that about your grandmother, did it ever worry you that it might be genetic, being predisposed to it?
That's a great question. I was so little, I don't know that I really thought about it in that way. I just knew that I remember specifically on Friday nights, we would go over and do sleepovers at their house. And some Saturdays, she just couldn't get up and have our normal day together. But I remember always thinking that she was just so strong for what she was having to manage and deal with. And again, in a time when it was kind of a quiet thing. So I think that left me maybe more confused than anything, just not knowing why that wasn't why was she telling me at 9, but this wasn't a whole conversation we're having as a family, because we're pretty open and stuff, and we are now. It definitely shifted and changed, but when I was little it was very different.
Yeah, but you knew enough to say, hey, my mental health is a priority here. So
Yeah.
I'm really going to look into it. So I'm curious about some of the modalities you discovered and then where you landed today. And we'll talk about that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, I would say it was my own like mental health support, I think, was pretty dormant until I really reached an apex with my daughter of wanting to 100% be there for her. She was so little. She was just a toddler, and trying to be an advocate for her, and at the same time really like drowning. And so it was from that point of desperation of trying to find like just something that would help me be able to manage and stay afloat. And I would say movement and meditation were the two things that really resonated with me. I didn't have any practices before that. I really didn't. I mean, maybe walking outside. So I guess it was like nature was kind of the one thing. And I am definitely one to like do more and constantly be moving and trying to move things forward and all of that. And so that fast pace to shift that to meditation or even yoga was definitely a learning curve. I remember being in certain like workout classes where I was like, this is astounding. Like, this is the only time my mind shuts off. And I actually had that same moment the other day. I went for a run, which doesn't happen all the time. And I was like, this is wild. Like, this is the one space that my mind just is quiet. So I tried to like follow that quiet a little bit. And so I really took to meditation. I really loved how that made me feel and just the shifts and changes that it would bring. And all of those things took a lot of time. And so I had all these practices that I knew I loved and did support me and helped me regulate and feel better. And I didn't have hours in the day to do this. And so with that, I kind of reached another level of frustration and desperation because I was like, well, now I know the things, but I also don't have time for the things. So this is just incredibly frustrating. So it was from that space that a good friend suggested that I try cold plunging. She was like, I think it's going to resonate for you. I really would love if you would try it. And I just told her no. I was like, absolutely not. That sounds horrible. I don't want to. And she just kind of like kept revisiting it when we would talk. And I was like, I don't want to. Like, I hate the cold. I'll do all kinds of other stuff. I'll try most anything once, but that sounds awful. But one particular day, she brought it up again. And I was like, literally, what do I have to lose? I have nothing to lose at this point. I feel like I'm kind of a sinking ship and there's no side effect here. So I don't like cold water, but what if that's actually something that can change? And so I secretly bought a horse trough. I brought it into our backyard. I filled it with hose water. So it wasn't the coldest, but it was certainly uncomfortable. And I got out of the trough and I felt better than I could remember ever feeling. And I was like, she was right. So now what do I do with this? And the thing that I loved about it was that I felt better instantly. It was like a reset button for my body. And it only took a couple of minutes as opposed to sitting in meditation for 30 minutes. So that is what brought us here.
This is a newer type of episode because I'm often talking to people living with, a harder, more severe mental illness and treatment from therapists, psychiatrists. So this one, I was like, oh, wait, this is like a journalistic episode.
Yeah.
I've got to do my research. I better go jump in one of these.
I love it.
So I did. I found a place in Berkeley, California. People recognize that it's kind of a woo-woo place. And so I did 3 mini plunges the first time.
Really?
I did like
Wow.
30 seconds, then I went
Yeah.
back and did a minute, and then I went back and did 2 minutes.
That's awesome.
And then I went back a few days later.
You really? Oh my gosh.
I really did. And I couldn't hear my phone alarm, which was set for like 2.5
Sure.
minutes. But with all the whirring and buzzing around
Yeah.
me, I was like, gosh, this is the longest 2.5 minutes of my life. What's going on? And then I realized my alarm was going off. But
It had been like 5 minutes.
I'm how long have I been in here? Yeah. And so we can talk about what happens to the body actually, but for me, the biggest benefit, like I felt pretty good
Yeah.
after. I actually, the first time I did it, I got a little tired. I went home and took a nap.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. But the next morning is when I really felt the benefits.
Okay.
And so I just felt like I woke up crisper and
Yeah.
clearer. And
Hmm.
that was really interesting. And that's why I went back. I'm like, that feeling was so good in the morning.
Right. Yeah. I wonder if, like, the first thing that came to my mind was it is a tax on your nervous system, right? So it is a stress load that you're adding. I wonder if that was just like a lot for you at the time, and that's why your body was like, I just want to rest. And then when you woke up, it was like, okay, now we kind of got that reset then.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was just a different experience, but it was
Yeah.
enough to bring me back to do it. And I have a little package going now.
Now, I'm curious, are you doing the heat too, or are you trying just the cold?
Well, because you have to pay for the 45 minutes.
Sure.
So I'm like, okay, I'll
Yeah,
do the
do them both.
sauna. And I'm not really into the sauna. Like I'm in there because I just, hanging out for the time. But
Yeah.
I wish I could just go and jump in
Hmm.
and do 3 minutes and spread
Yeah.
that out over the week. And I think that's where you and your product comes in to make that possible. But maybe before that, we should just talk about some of the benefits of this, the research that's being done, some of the myths. Also, there
Hmm.
was one in particular I wanted to ask about, but yeah, I mean, I felt that the cold shock, the shiver, fight or flight, if you wanted to
Hmm.
just go into that, be great.
Yeah, of course. So, one of the myths I suspect that you're headed towards, so I'll just guess and say it. So, there is a myth going around right now that I think it's a myth. Some people would believe this. So, there is a thought process that women in particular need to have a warmer temperature. So, that basically the idea that our bodies are needing to have less of a tax on them. And so, therefore, a warmer temperature, but also leaning into more heat, hotter saunas, things like that, is more beneficial for women. So, interestingly, I saw that research 2 years after I started cold plunging. And so, at first, it like really rocked me because I was like, have I been doing this wrong this whole time? Like, what? That's so surprising to me because here's a couple pieces for context, I guess. Cold plunging can be anything between 40 and 60 degrees. So we often see the visual of ice floating around you, all of that. It does not need to be that at all. For context, like I've gotten to a place where I feel like the mid 40s is kind of like my sweet spot where I feel the benefits, but it's not too hard on my system. So I tried it. I went to warmer and was like, oh, I'm just curious, like what, maybe they were right. But for me, I didn't feel the benefits like I usually do. Like my mind did not feel as clear. I didn't feel as focused. It just wasn't the same for me. So I was like, a good reminder that it literally is your own practice. And so the amount of time you want to stay in there and the temperature that you want to play with are kind of your variables to just see what works for you.
Yeah, so the myth that I am hearing, well, I'm actually seeing it posted on some manufacturers of cold plunge that women 60 and over shouldn't be doing it. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
this idea that older women it's not as safe for. And then I was going, well, so I only get 10 years of doing this? Or if are pretty accustomed to it and have that
Yeah.
adaptation,
Yeah.
maybe it's fine to continue. But I don't know if it's just because they have less body fat or what that might be coming from.
The other thing, perhaps, actually, two things. One would be your heart health. Obviously, if you're an active person, I would be surprised that this would be that taxing that it would be of detriment to you. But I always say ask your doctor if you're concerned at all. The other thing being, It is, I think, more common for women than men to have like circulation issues, Raynaud's and things like that. So if you were somebody who struggled with that, there might be just some modifications that you would want to make. I've heard of people actually putting socks on their feet so that the intensity isn't quite so strong on your feet. I personally leave my hands out too. I don't have circulation issues, but it's just too intense on my hands, so I keep them out. So those would be the couple things that come to my mind. You really have to lean into what's working for you and listen to your body in that moment. And if it is a no, then that's fine. But those research pieces are pretty limited right now, and I'm hoping that that shifts and changes to be more comprehensive.
Yeah, definitely. I just read an article that went in and looked at many, many studies on this and
Yeah.
basically said, like, there's still not
Yeah.
great trials out there to
Yeah.
really refer to. But there are some definite benefits that they can track within the day or within a week and potentially longer. So I'd love to hear about those.
Yeah. It is like a whole body experience, as you probably found out from doing it. So, a lot of people will talk about the physical benefits. If you're somebody who struggles with inflammation, chronic pain, things like that, it can really help with that. A small level example is my husband loves to golf, and his back will really get tight when he is either stressed or like has maybe swung wrong, and it just like gets tweaky and painful. And he has now figured out that every time that happens, he goes right to the cold plunge. But I think the bigger side is really the mental benefits that you can get from it. What the water does is, because it sends your body into fight or flight for just a little bit of time, it actually really increases your dopamine. That can go up to 250% more than you normally would. And then your cortisol drops. So at a like base level, I think those are two huge benefits. And the reason that it's become such a ritual for me is that the focus and clarity that comes from getting in the water is, it's just uncomparable to anything else that I do. And so like for me, I go straight from pajamas to my swimsuit. I go and plunge real quick in the morning, and it just really like clears out any cobwebs for me and allows me to really focus and be really intentional with the rest of my day. And I just really love and appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I've also heard that it does increase serotonin. The gut brain pathway is
Yep.
activated,
Yep.
and even oxytocin
Mm-hmm.
too. So a lot is going on, a lot of benefits. And the whole idea of increasing metabolism through
Yes.
with the brown fat, that's something
Mm-hmm.
interesting to look into. And the mitochondria there, I hope it increases
Yeah.
metabolism.
I believe it does. I really do. Well, you'll have to see now because you're at like the early stages of it. So you'll have to see how that works for you.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I feel like I like I look at the tub and I'm like, "Okay, it's me and you, and and I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna jump in this."
I love
And
it.
then, like, my mantra, you said, like, have a mantra or a song or
Yeah.
something. It was not inspiring. It was like, "This will end. This will end. I promise this will end." And then doing just, like, really quick breathing, like, I just made up some breathing that helped
Yeah.
me do it. But there was also this, so the first time I did it was 40 degrees water, and that
Wow.
was
That is
cold.
really cold. Yes.
When I went back, it was at 45, and
Yeah.
I noticed a difference, actually. I noticed that after maybe a minute or so, your body kinda just relaxes into it
Yep.
a little bit.
Yep.
Is that normal?
I believe it is. I mean, I really think you kind of, as you get in, there's that like initial shock. And then I don't know if you experience this or if this is just a me thing, but like I always feel like a surge, almost like a lightning bolt going from my feet to my head. And it just like goes straight up. And I think that's why a lot of people will actually dunk their head. I don't. But, especially if people have done heat, that often will be like you go under to really let it all out. But yes, as soon as you could get over that initial shock, then it's like, and it really is like, it sounds crazy, but it is like you relax into it and it doesn't feel as cold. And then I think it kind of builds again where your body's like, okay, to the touch, things are like, we've reached our limit. We're good. Time to get out.
And that's usually the shiver, right? Like,
Yeah. Although I have to be honest, so most people, like, that's the goal. That is to shiver in the water and really like have that moment, because that's really when like all the changes taking place and then you can get out. I shiver afterwards. I don't know why, but in there, I think it's because I can calm my breathing so much that I don't really have that, or maybe I just don't have it cold enough for me. But then, like 30 minutes later, I'll be out and I'll just start shaking, and then it just like goes on for a couple minutes and then it's gone.
I'm curious how often you're doing it.
So it ebbs and flows depending on if I'm traveling or if I'm home. If I'm home and I have my cold plunge in the backyard, I learned about this study that said instead of like aiming for a certain amount of time per plunge, it was more of a comprehensive over a week, aim for 11 minutes. And then you can really break that down however you want. You know, if you want to do 30-second increments, if you want to dunk in and back out, like literally however you want that to be. But you kind of have a goal for the week versus being so regimented that it has to happen every day. The current plunge that I have at my house, and there were a few days where it was just like not working. And so after I got it cold again, then I was like, oh my gosh, I missed this so much that I was doing it every day. But in general, I'm usually more of like, I'd say 3 or 4 times a week. So more of like an every other day. And I feel like for me, that gives my body time to recover, but then also it is like a continuous practice too.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it.
That's
So
amazing. I'm so glad.
so you have a product and I'd love to hear about it.
Thank you. Well, from my trough that I had in the backyard, I really sat there. I've always had a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit in me, but I really sat there and thought about how this made me feel and how I would love to spread that to other people. It was so clear to me that I would love to help other women get over that same hurdle that I did of not liking cold, but realizing what it can do for you. And so I would lay there and just think about what would make other people want to get in here? How could we design this and make it something amazing that wasn't ugly in your backyard like a trough, and just all of the things that would really tie into your senses and making this an incredible human experience. And so it was from that space that grew this idea of the chill pod. And so the chill pod is now this standalone little pod that is beautiful and really is made for the human experience of plunging. So many of them are big tubs where, for me personally, like I float to the top and then I spend all my time thinking about like, why am I not able to sit in this? Or, it just isn't a really luxurious experience. And so that is what I really took from my own experience and then translated that into a product for people to be able to bring into their businesses and their homes.
And it's for both men and women.
Yeah, it's for all bodies for sure. But I did think about women the most when I was dreaming it up, because there are a lot of the products already like fit the male market. So it is absolutely made for everybody. But, I really tried to think about what women would want from it first and foremost.
I'm excited to talk about just a different therapy, basically.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just feeling one neat effect from it, but to feel that in the morning, it's really worth it. Today I was super tired and I was like, I wish I could have done that last night. Like I did one at like 4 or 5 in the evening. And I don't know if that's good.
And again, you definitely want to listen to your own body. I can tell you most of the research shows that doing it in the morning is the most beneficial. You're really reinforcing your circadian rhythm and you're getting yourself that energy boost for the rest of the day, kind of like your body was craving today. Like if you're sleepy, get out all those cobwebs and just like kind of reinvigorate yourself for the day ahead. But honestly, I've talked to multiple people that like doing it at night. I've heard a few that will even do a cold plunge and then a really hot bath and literally tuck in the sheets. So, it just depends on what works for you and what resonates for you. It's a special experience. It's really cool, and you kind of feel like a badass for doing it. I mean, it's not easy.
I know. And that is fun, actually, to be
It
like,
is.
nobody else is doing this right now.
Yes.
It is.
Like, who else starts their day like this? This is wild.
I know. Yeah, that's a little bit how I felt as well.
No, it's a powerful practice, no question.
Yeah. My sister knew I was doing it, and she's
Oh,
like, I'll just wait till the podcast to hear about it.
I'll listen to it.
Yeah. So I'm grateful that I've connected with you and that I started doing this, and I hope to continue. And it's just been a really fun byproduct of our connection. So I just thank you so much.
So glad that you literally took the plunge. When you texted me and said that you were going and did I have any advice, I was like, oh my gosh, she's doing it.
Yeah, I would never have done it if I
That's
hadn't met
awesome.
you. And so I can continue to do it. So
Well,
thank you.
congratulations. Nice work.
Aw,
I'm really
thanks.
glad that we got to connect and have this conversation. I'm thankful that you brought me on.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
It's Janine. Bipolar She is currently an independent podcast. I'm its writer, producer, and host. Please consider this podcast as a work of advocacy, getting important stories to those that need them. As we gather ideas how to keep the show running financially, please do engage with the podcast wherever you find it. Offer up some stars and some likes. You can visit us at bipolarshe.com or at bipolarshe pod on Instagram. And thank you, as always, for your support.